So our system is library. Here, the purpose of the flow of this no, sa login, check niya kung kinsa ay nag-log attempt, if failed, or login success. So I have this stored, I have this table which is logs. Kung saan niya makikita kung success or failed and kung sino yung naka-login. And here, I'm gonna show you first in my check login sa store procedure. Now, I declared here a variable, default, I set the default as null. And then here, i-check niya dito if yung password ko and then yung username ko is correct. So if it's correct, then it means yung user ID is not null. Then ma-insert niya sa logs ko, which is yung sa database ko, ma-insert niya yung values. And then, pag na-success siya, then itong select all pag users, which is niya yung purpose niya is magamit ko yung role. Makuha ko yung lahat ng data of that role, exact user ID. If not, if hindi siya, then must set as false. And then yung user ID must set as null. All of them are null. So I'm gonna give you examples here. Let's say I try to log in as a student. Then student, it's invalid. So kunyari invalid. Now pag check ko sa logs ko, which is a database, now makikita mo which is login failed, which is yung users, login failed, the table's users, and then failed like login attempt. Now what if going kong admin and 1, 2, 3? Now mo-success siya. Since mo-success siya, now hindi na siya magiging null, which is success yung pagka-login niya. So users and user ID is 1 and then user login successfully. So yun ang purpose ng store procedure ko sa part na to, which is called check login. Now, we're gonna focus more on manage books, which is more on CRUD parts. So lahat ng store procedures, triggers, and events, lahat nandito. Now, first thing, we're gonna go for delete. Pinaka basic delete. Now, we're gonna go delete this Barney 44. Now, pag delete ko, so I have this delete book store procedure. So, ganyan siya. Mo-delete niya. Exact book. And then, I have also these triggers. So, the purpose of these triggers is before ko siya ma-delete, then i-insert ko to sa book history ko. And makikita mo yung delete na status. So, ito yung trigger part. So, I'm gonna show you in my book history. So, dito sa book history, dito makikita yung kung anong book na update, anong book na delete. So, yeah, right there, I have Barney na na-delete. So, available 2 copies, and then yung action type niya, or yung status niya is delete. So, ganun siya. Same goes thing sa pag-update. But, I'm gonna go for add. So, sa pag-add naman, let's say, Spider-Man, Peter, and then I have 20 copies. Now, if meron akong 20 copies, then yung status niya maging available. But what if ginawa ko siyang 0? Then, naging siyang unavailable. Now, if change natin to, naging siyang 5. Now, if you check on my logs, my history, na yung Spider-Man Peter Parker is 0, which is earlier, naging 0 yan kanina, pero ginawa ko siyang 5. So, yan, update. So, nalagay siya dito 0. So, yun ang purpose ng book history ko. And then, papakita ko sa iyo kung paano yung update. So, yung pag-update naman, which is here, after update, so dito niya makikita para ma-insert niya if yung old and title and new title is not equal, then ma-insert niya na update. So, ito ang triggers part. Now, sa status naman, kung paano to nagiging available, unavailable, and instead sa mano-mano sa backend, sa code. So, I have this triggered also before pag-update. So, pag-update ko, I have this 0. So, kanina, I set as 0, lagi siyang unavailable earlier. Now, if yung available ko naging 0, so let's say I borrow a book. Let's say I borrow a book sa Lord of the Ring. Ginawa ko siyang 3. 0. 0. And then ang mangyayari sa Lord of the Ring, naging siyang unavailable if because of my triggers of before book update. Now here in the purpose of this is for events. So ang mangyayari sa events, which is ang papakita ko paano yung events, which is nakikita mo nagiging siyang damage because of these events. Now sa event naman, if makita niya if yung copies and available is 0 at saka yung date is less than of karon na date or time, then na-interval na 20 seconds na ma-update yung status into damage. So, example of, let's say of Harry Potter. Gagawin ko itong 0. Now, naging siyang available. So, I'm gonna wait for 20 seconds. Pwede rin to sa mga part na mga books or like mga products na na-expired. Pwede siya maging ganun. Like, let's say, the status naging expired. So, it's a good idea. So, yun. Naging, after 20 seconds, set siya as damage. Unlike earlier, pag before ako mag-update or pag-add ko ng 0, then naging siyang unavailable. Pero if I set at 0, I update at 0, naging siyang damage. I can also update them. So naging siyang available. It's because of this part of my triggers. So right here, because of my triggers. So if yung damage, yung status ko is damage and yung copies ko is 0, 0 and available, then mo set siya as damage. And the purpose yan is kapag nag-change ako ng, if damage siya, then gusto ko sa i-change yung values, then pwede siya ma-change here as unavailable or available. Now here I have this OR, which is yung new copies. What if yung copies ko is mas mababa kaysa sa, so let's say I have this 1 yung Spider-Man. So ang mangyayari sa Spider-Man ko, naging damage dahil nga because of this naging damage siya. So wala siyang events pero triggers yung nagpart na gano dyan, unlike sa events na 20 seconds na interval. And then kasi nga nawala yung 4 na copies, so na-damage. And then if na-update ko naman, so far, message as 5, so walang mayari. Now, what if I have a book na nagborrow yung student? Let's say, nagborrow siya ng Harry Potter 3. So as you can see, may Harry Potter 3, naging 3. Now, pag nag-update ako dito ng 7, let's say gusto ko yung copies ko madagdagan. So, naging 7, and then yung available niya naging 5. So, I'm gonna show you on my... So, ito yung lahat ng part ng triggers. I already showed you. And then, for the update naman, which is it earlier, pag-update ko kanina, I declare here diff, an integer. And then, yung p copies ko, which is I set earlier as 7, and then yung original copies niya is 5 earlier. And then, I assign it as div. Now, it becomes 2, which is naging minus. Now, sa pag-update, yung copies ko naging 7. So, let's say 7 na to kasi I updated earlier. And then, yung available ko earlier is 3 kasi may nagborrow ng 2 books. Now, ang mayari sa div ko, which is I already assigned it as 2 kasi dahil nag-minus ako. And then, yung p copies ko is 7. Now, ang mayari to sa available ko is dapat yung greatest list, which is dapat hindi siya below 0. And then ito magiging 5. So 3 plus 2 magiging 5. So naging display siya as 5 here. And then bakit siya may 7? Dapat at least 5, which is yung pinaka maximum niya is 7. Bawal siya sumobra sa 8 as long less than 7. So parang ganun, less than 7 siya sa p copies. So yun ang purpose niya ng itong part na to. Now, what if may nag-return ng book? So, let's say, sa Spider-Man, sa Harry Potter 3 ko, I already borrow, nag-return ako ng 2 book. So, that's gonna be 7. Na if nag-return ako ng book, na ang mayari, nag-isang 7. Dahil doon, ni-plus niya binalik niya yung ano, yung 2 sa available. So yeah. So yun ang part. Now if I try here, ganito tong 0 na events, we're gonna wait for 20 seconds and then boom, naging 0. So yun ang part ng events. So yun ang purpose ng events. Ito yung update sa pag-get all ng borrow, sa pag-display ng books right here, and then sa pag-add ng book, and then some damage, which is yung events. Now in my back end, which is sa books naman, which I have this, kinocall ko sila sa models ko in back end, which is sa class, and then itong functions na to, nilalagay ko siya sa controller ko, and then para ma-pass siya para ma-fetch niya sa actions ko, which is in my books right here. I-fetch na to. So itong controller ko makukuha niya, and then yung controller ko mag-send siya as JSON response papunta kay JS as JSON, and then yun, ma-display sa books, ma-display sa table. So yeah, same goes thing sa pag-apply ng add, update, and delete. So that's the CRUD part in library system, which is applied yung procedure and some triggers. There is triggers, ito yung mga triggers, and then events, procedures, and tables. So yep, that's it. And my group mates is Muhammad Abdul Manan, which is ako, and then Ryan Walo, and Mark Nyez.